Good evening, and welcome to Sleep Sanctuary, where calmness and imagination meet to guide you into a restful sleep. Tonight, under a blanket of stars and the gentle hush of snowfall, we step into a realm of stillness and wonder. Let your mind drift away from the noise of the day and imagine yourself surrounded by a serene winter meadow, where the snow glows faintly beneath the moonlight. Tonight, we will journey to a place where memories awaken, carried on the whispers of the winter breeze. In this meadow, far from the bustling world, there is a tradition, a quiet ritual performed year after year. The snow falls, the wind sighs through the trees, and a snowman is built with care and devotion. For as long as I can remember, I've returned to this meadow every winter, my hands molding the snow, shaping something that feels like more than just a figure. It feels like reaching into the past, into something sacred and alive. This year, the air feels different, almost expectant. I stand in the meadow, the snow crunching softly beneath my boots, and begin the familiar task. My hands press and shape the snow, the cold seeping through my gloves, but never quite reaching me. A deep calm settles over me as the snowman takes form, piece by piece, until it stands tall under the silvery glow of the moon. I take a step back, admiring the simple figure. A carrot for a nose, small stones for eyes, and a scarf wrapped snugly around its neck. The act feels like a connection to all the winters I've lived, all the snowmen I've built, and all the quiet moments this meadow has held. And then it happens. A sound, soft, almost imperceptible, like the faintest whisper carried on the wind. I freeze, my breath fogging the air as I lean closer. The snowman's stone eyes seem to glint, and its scarf stirs ever so slightly, though there is no breeze. Do you remember? It whispers, its voice like the sound of snowflakes landing. My heart stirs, caught between disbelief and awe. I kneel before the snowman, leaning closer, and the whisper grows stronger, wrapping around me like the warmth of an old, familiar tune. And so, the snowman begins to speak. Before we continue, let us take a moment to find stillness. Close your eyes, if you wish, and allow yourself to sink into the quiet embrace of this winter's night. Feel the weight of your body supported by the earth, as if the snow beneath you is holding you gently, like a comforting friend. Picture yourself standing in that serene meadow once more. The world around you is silent, except for the soft sound of snowflakes falling, their delicate touch muffling everything else. Each flake seems to shimmer, catching the faint light of the stars above. Breathe deeply, inhaling the crisp, cool air that fills your lungs with a sense of purity and calm. As you exhale, release the day's worries and let them drift away like mist dissolving into the cold night air. Feel the tension in your shoulders melt away, as if it, too, has been carried off by the snow. With each breath, you grow lighter, more at ease. Now, imagine the snow beneath your feet, soft yet firm. You take a step forward, and the crunch of the snow echoes in your mind like a gentle rhythm. Feel the coolness of the air brushing against your skin, a soothing reminder of nature's quiet presence. Above you, the stars glisten like scattered diamonds, their light unwavering. The world feels vast yet intimate, as though this moment exists just for you. Stay here for a while, in this meadow of peace and stillness. Let the snowfall surround you, quiet your mind, and open your heart. Prepare yourself for the whispers that will guide you through memories of winters past and the beauty they hold. When you're ready, the snowman's voice will call again. The snowman's voice begins softly, like the rustle of branches under a blanket of snow. Do you remember, it whispers, the winter when you first built me? My breath catches in my chest. Somewhere deep within me, the memory stirs, like the faint glow of a lantern flickering to life. I nod, unable to speak, as the snowman continues. It was a day much like this, it says. The snow was fresh, untouched, waiting for your small hands to shape it. The meadow around me begins to shift, as if the snowman's words are painting the scene. The years melt away, and suddenly I'm a child again. The snow is deeper, and my small boots crunch through it with clumsy enthusiasm. My laughter rings out, light and carefree, as I scoop handfuls of snow and pack them tightly. Beside me is my closest childhood friend, their cheeks rosy from the cold, their woolen scarf trailing behind them as they dart around, gathering snow. Together we laugh, slipping and tumbling as we mold the base of the snowman. The air is filled with the joy of creation, of two young hearts pouring their boundless energy into something simple yet magical. The snowman watches me now, its stone eyes glinting as it whispers, "Do you remember what you named me?" A smile breaks across my face. "Frosty," I murmur. "You were Frosty." "Yes," it replies. "And do you remember what you said to me when you finished?" I close my eyes, the memory rising unbidden. I see myself, a child staring up at the finished snowman with bright, hopeful eyes. I had pressed a hand to its chest and whispered, "I'll come back every winter so we can play again." The snowman's voice softens, tinged with something that feels like nostalgia. But that winter wasn't just about joy, was it? The scene shifts again. My friend and I are still in the meadow, but now the sky is darker, the air colder. We stand close together, our laughter replaced by quiet murmurs. It was the winter they told me they were moving away. I can still hear their voice, uncertain yet brave, as they promised we would write letters and stay friends no matter what. I remember the ache in my chest as I watched them walk away, their footprints trailing into the distance. I had returned to the snowman after they left, pressing my hand against its cold chest and whispering, "You'll stay, won't you? You won't leave me." The snowman's voice pulls me back to the present. I stayed, it says. I've always stayed. But do you see now why I reminded you of that winter? I nod, the memory settling over me like a warm blanket. It was the first time I learned that even the happiest moments can be fleeting, I say softly. But that doesn't make them any less beautiful. The snowman seems to smile, though it does not move. Exactly. Hold on to the joy of those moments, even as they pass. For they are the snowflakes that make up the winters of your life. I stand there in silence, letting the memory wash over me. The meadow is quiet again, the snowfall gentle, as if the world itself is giving me space to reflect. I look at the snowman, my voice steady now. Tell me more, I say. Show me the winters I've forgotten. The snowman's whisper comes again, soft but insistent. There is more to remember, more to cherish. But first, let us visit another winter, one filled with a different kind of lesson. And so, the next chapter of the snowman's memories begins. The snowman's whisper deepens, carrying with it a weight that settles in the still air. Do you remember, it says, the winter when the snow didn't bring joy but sorrow? My chest tightens. The memory hovers at the edges of my mind, like frost creeping across a window pane. I nod hesitantly, and the snowman's voice wraps around me, pulling me back in time. The meadow changes again, the present dissolving into the past. The snow is falling, soft and relentless, but this time the air feels heavy, not light. I'm older now, no longer a child, but not yet fully grown. I stand in this very meadow, a scarf wrapped tightly around my neck, my hands trembling despite the warmth of my gloves. Before me stands someone I once loved deeply. Their face is partially obscured by the falling snow, but I can see their eyes sad, resolute, and filled with unspoken words. I can't do this anymore, they say, their voice breaking through the cold. I hear myself respond, my voice strained and pleading, but their words leave no room for doubt. They turn away, their figure fading into the storm, their footsteps quickly erased by the falling snow. The snowman's voice breaks through the memory. It was the first time your heart truly broke, wasn't it? I nod, swallowing hard. The ache of that winter resurfaces, raw and familiar. I remember standing alone in the meadow, tears freezing on my cheeks, the silence around me feeling louder than ever before. I had built a snowman that evening too, hoping the simple act would ease the hollow ache inside me. I remember that snowman, the snowman whispers now. You didn't give it a scarf, or a smile, or even a name. You built it quickly, angrily, as if the act of creation could take away your pain. I close my eyes, the memory unfolding in vivid detail. I see myself standing before that unfinished snowman, my hands numb from the cold, whispering into the frosty air, "Why does it hurt so much?" The snowman's voice softens. Do you remember what you learned from that winter? I take a deep breath, grounding myself in the present even as the memory lingers. I learned that pain doesn't last forever, I say quietly. That even the coldest winters eventually give way to spring. The snowman hums in agreement, its whisper almost like a sigh. Heartbreak is as much a part of life as joy, it says. Both carve into your soul, shaping you, teaching you. That winter taught you resilience, though you didn't see it at the time. I glance around the meadow, the present and the past merging in my mind. The pain I felt that winter no longer feels sharp, it's dulled by time, softened by understanding. You return the next winter, the snowman continues, and built another snowman. This time, you gave it a smile again. I nod, a faint smile touching my lips. I remember. I didn't want to carry that pain into another year. The snowman's eyes seemed to glint in the moonlight. And you didn't. That winter was a part of your story, but it didn't define it. Just as the snow melts, so too does sorrow. And in its place, new joys emerge. The meadow grows quiet again, the snow falling gently around us. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding, feeling lighter somehow. Thank you, I whisper to the snowman. There is more to remember, it replies, its voice a soft invitation. More winters, more lessons, more beauty. Are you ready to continue? I nod, my heart steady now. I'm ready. And with that, the snowman begins to whisper once more, guiding me to another winter and another chapter of my life. The snowman's voice takes on a gentler tone, like a melody carried by the winter breeze. Do you remember, it whispers, the winter when love first warmed your heart? The meadow shifts again, snow swirling around me until the years peel away, revealing another time. I stand in this very spot, but the air feels different, crisp yet alive with possibility. I'm older now, my heart still cautious but open, as if waiting for something or someone. The memory forms, vivid and bright. It's an evening much like this one, with snowflakes dancing in the moonlight. I'm not alone. Standing beside me is someone whose presence feels as natural as the falling snow. Their laughter rings out, light and uninhibited, as we work together to build a snowman. Not like that, they tease, their voice warm despite the cold. You're making the head too big. I laugh, rolling another snowball and pretending to protest. It's artistic. You'll see, it'll be the most charming snowman in the meadow. We work side by side, hands brushing occasionally, sending sparks of warmth through the frosty air. When the snowman is complete, it's far from perfect, its head tilts slightly, and the scarf is tied unevenly, but we're both grinning as we step back to admire our creation. The snowman's voice returns, pulling me back into the present. Do you remember what you felt in that moment? I close my eyes, the memory filling me with its glow. I felt alive, I whisper. Like the world had suddenly opened up, full of color and possibility. The snowman hums softly, as if smiling. That was the winter you first learned what love feels like, the warmth it brings, even in the coldest of seasons. The memory continues to unfold. The two of us sit in the snow, talking about everything and nothing, our words mingling with the icy air. I remember the way their eyes lit up when they spoke of their dreams, the way their laughter seemed to melt the chill from the night. And then there's a moment I'll never forget. They turn to me, their expression soft, and say, "You know, this might be my favorite winter yet." I feel my chest tighten, warmth spreading through me as I smile back. "Mine too," I had replied, my voice barely more than a whisper. The snowman's voice deepens, as though carrying the weight of what came next. "But love, like winter, is fleeting," it says. That moment didn't last forever, did it? I shake my head, a bittersweet ache blooming in my chest. No, it didn't. Life pulled us in different directions. We promised to stay in touch, but promises can fade, like footprints in the snow. The snowman remained silent for a moment, letting the memory settle before speaking again. Yet that winter lives on, doesn't it? In your heart, in the lessons it taught you. Love may be fleeting, but its warmth lingers long after the snow has melted. I nod, a small smile touching my lips. I've never forgotten it, I say. It taught me to embrace the present, to savor moments of connection while they last. The meadow feels quiet again, as if holding its breath. I gaze at the snowman, its scarf fluttering gently in the breeze. "Thank you for reminding me," I whisper. The snowman's eyes seem to glint with approval. "There is still more to remember," it says softly. "Are you ready for the next winter?" I take a deep breath, my heart steady with gratitude and anticipation. "I'm ready." The snowman's whisper begins again, drawing me into another chapter of my life, another winter filled with meaning. The snowman's voice lowers, quieter now, like the hush of snowfall in an empty forest. "Do you remember the winter when the world felt still, and you were left with only your own thoughts?" The meadow begins to shift, and I find myself transported to another time, another winter. The snow is heavier here, blanketing the world in an almost oppressive silence. The air is cold, not the crisp, invigorating kind, but a chill that seeps deep into the bones. I am alone. The scene sharpens, and I see myself walking through the meadow. My footsteps are slow, deliberate, crunching through the fresh snow. The sky is grey, heavy with clouds, and the world feels muted. I had come here seeking something, though at the time I wasn't sure what. This was the winter you felt lost, the snowman whispers, its voice gentle but firm. The winter when you withdrew from the world, unsure of where you were heading. I nod, the memory settling over me like the snow. It was a difficult time, a season when nothing seemed to make sense. I remember the days blending together, the feeling of being adrift, like a lone figure in an endless storm. That winter, I had built a snowman, as I always did. But unlike the others, this one wasn't joyful or playful. It was simple, bare, almost somber. I had stood before it for hours, as if waiting for it to speak, to give me answers I couldn't find within myself. You came to this meadow often, the snowman says now, its whisper weaving through the memory. Not for answers, but for peace. Do you remember what you found? I close my eyes, recalling the stillness of those days. I found silence, I say slowly. Not the empty kind, but the kind that lets you hear yourself. The kind that makes you face what you've been avoiding. The snowman hums softly, a sound of quiet agreement. That winter, you learned the value of solitude. You learned that even in loneliness, there is a kind of clarity. The memory deepens. I see myself sitting in the snow, staring at the horizon where the meadow meets the forest. I wasn't searching for anything external, I was searching for myself. The silence around me became a mirror, reflecting back the parts of me I had ignored, the truths I had buried. One evening, as the snow fell heavily, I had stood before the snowman and whispered, "I don't know who I am anymore." The snowman's voice now is tender, understanding. And in that admission, it says, you found the first step toward rediscovery. I remember the small moments that began to bring light back into that winter. A bird landing on a branch, its song cutting through the silence. The way the snow sparkled under the pale sunlight, reminding me of the beauty and simplicity. And the way the cold air seemed to cleanse my thoughts, leaving behind a quiet resolve. That winter wasn't about building snowmen or sharing laughter, the snowman continues. It was about learning to sit with yourself, to embrace the stillness rather than fear it. I nod, the memory filling me with a strange kind of warmth. It taught me that even in the quietest winters, there's something to be gained, I say softly. The snowman's voice is steady now, its tone comforting. Life isn't always loud and vibrant. Sometimes, it's soft, still, and introspective. But those winters are just as important. They prepare you for what comes next. I look at the snowman, its features illuminated by the pale moonlight. Thank you for reminding me, I say, my voice steady. The snowman seems to shimmer, its scarf fluttering in the gentle breeze. There's more to see, it whispers. Another winter awaits, one filled with hope and renewal. Are you ready? I take a deep breath, feeling lighter, as if the weight of that solitary winter has finally lifted. "I'm ready," I reply. And as the snowman's whisper begins again, the meadow shifts once more, guiding me to the next chapter of my life. The snowman's voice grows brighter, its tone carrying a quiet anticipation. "Do you remember," it whispers, "the winter when everything began again?" The meadow shifts once more, and I find myself standing in a winter unlike any other. The snow is dazzling, sparkling under a clear blue sky, as if the entire world has been polished and renewed. The air feels crisp and invigorating, and I can sense an energy within me that wasn't there before. This was the winter of change, the snowman says. The winter when you let go of the past and embraced the present. The memory unfolds, and I see myself in the meadow, bundled against the cold but moving with purpose. My arms are full of supplies, bright scarves, smooth stones, and a carefully chosen carrot. I'm smiling, my breath visible in the air, as I kneel to begin shaping the snow. For the first time in years, I wasn't just building a snowman, I was creating something that felt alive. Each curve of the snow, each detail I added, carried an intention, a quiet joy. I remember the way my heart felt light, as if I had finally shed the weight of winter's past. "You were different that year," the snowman murmurs. "Not because life was easier, but because you had changed. You had found strength in the quiet winters and warmth in the ones filled with love. And you were ready to begin again." I smile, the memory filling me with its glow. I remember finishing the snowman, stepping back to admire it. It wasn't perfect, but it was full of life, its crooked smile, its scarf billowing in the breeze. "You gave me a name that winter," the snowman says softly. "Do you remember?" I nod, a laugh escaping me. "I called you a hope." The snowman seems to shimmer, its presence growing stronger. "And do you remember why?" I think back to that day, to the words I whispered as I stood before the snowman. "Every winter is different," I had said. "Some are joyful, some are painful, and some are quiet. But no matter how cold or dark they are, there's always a new one waiting, a chance to start over." The snowman's voice is warm now, almost tender. "That winter, you embraced the beauty of impermanence. You realized that just as snow melts and returns, so too do moments, opportunities, and seasons of life. You stopped clinging to what was and started embracing what could be." The memory shifts slightly, and I see myself standing in the meadow as the sun begins to set. The sky is painted with hues of pink and gold, and the snowman stands tall, its presence a quiet comfort. "You left the meadow that day with more than you brought," the snowman whispers. "You carried with you a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that life seasons are fleeting but endlessly beautiful." I nod, the warmth of that winter filling my chest. It was the first time I truly felt at peace, I say. The snowman's scarf flutters in the breeze, and its voice lowers, almost as if it's smiling. Hope is a powerful thing, it says. It carries us through the darkest nights and the coldest winters. And it always returns, no matter how much we think we've lost it. The meadow begins to grow still, the memory fading gently into the present. I look at the snowman, its form glowing softly in the moonlight. There's one more winter, it whispers. One final memory to uncover. Are you ready? I take a deep breath, the crisp air filling my lungs. I'm ready, I say, my voice steady. The snowman's eyes seem to glint with anticipation as its whisper rises again, guiding me to the last chapter of my life, a winter I can already feel will change everything. The snowman's whisper is softer now, like a breeze barely brushing against the trees. This last winter, it says, is not a memory, it is the present. The winter that has brought you here, to this moment, to me. The meadow remains still, cloaked in silver moonlight. The snow glistens, untouched, as if the world has paused to listen. I look at the snowman, its eyes like tiny stars, and feel the weight of its words settling over me. This winter, the snowman continues, is your reminder. Each flake that falls, each breath of frosty air, each quiet night under the stars, they are all gifts, fleeting and precious. I gaze at the meadow around me, its beauty striking in its simplicity. The silence feels alive, as if it holds an unspoken truth. This winter feels different, as if it's urging me to understand something I've long overlooked. I've been here in this meadow every year, the snowman whispers. Not just to hold your memories, but to remind you of what they mean. Each winter, you've learned something new about joy, about heartbreak, about solitude, love, and renewal. And now, in this winter, it's time to embrace what they've all been leading to. The air grows still, and I feel the snowman's presence deepen, its voice resonating not just in the air but within me. Life, it says, is like a snowfall. Beautiful, fleeting, and utterly unique. Each flake that falls is a moment, and no two are ever the same. You can't stop them from melting, but you can cherish them while they last. The snowman's words stir something in me, a realization I've been on the verge of understanding all along. Every winter I've lived, every memory I've uncovered tonight, has shaped me. They've been more than seasons, they've been lessons, reminders to live fully, to love deeply, to find meaning even in the quietest moments. I step closer to the snowman, the cold air sharp against my skin but my heart warm. You've always been here, I whisper. Not just in this meadow, but within me. You've been the voice that reminded me to hold on, to let go, to hope. The snowman's eyes seem to glow brighter, its presence growing softer, almost translucent. And now, it says, my purpose is complete. You've remembered everything. You've seen the beauty in what was, and you understand the power of what is. I feel a pang of sadness, knowing this moment will end, but the snowman's voice reassures me. I will always be here, it says gently. Not as the figure you see, but as the quiet knowing in your heart. Every winter, you'll feel me in the snowflakes, in the stillness, in the way the world slows down just long enough for you to notice its beauty. I nod, tears stinging my eyes, though they don't fall. Thank you, I whisper. For everything. The snowman inclines its head, its form shimmering like frost under sunlight. This winter is yours to live, it says. And so are the ones to come. Remember what I've shown you. Cherish the moments, even as they pass. They are what make life beautiful. The meadow begins to blur, the snowman fading into the soft glow of the moonlit night. I stand there, feeling both the weight of what I've experienced and the lightness it leaves behind. The world around me feels alive again, the crunch of snow underfoot, the whisper of wind through the trees. The snowman's voice lingers in the air, fading gently, like the last note of a lullaby. Rest well, it says, its final whisper carrying warmth. And may your winters always remind you of life's fleeting beauty. The meadow grows quiet, the night wrapping itself around me like a soft blanket. And as I turn to leave, the stars above seem to shimmer with a quiet promise, their light guiding me back to the present, back to myself.